headings, but I wanted today to be really about answering any questions that you may have. No particular order, but I'm going to start with leadership. I go to an awful lot of companies that seem to have lost their way in terms of how they need to push their business forward. And if you're running a business, or even if you're heading a department up, I deal with three senior lawyers, quite a big law firm on the South Coast, and they each run their particular division. Two of them are senior partners of the firm. And they kind of very intelligent people, know exactly what they're doing, been at it 25 years plus, but sometimes you kind of lose your way, I guess. And I talk to them a lot about leadership, but I want to just say to you that there's an awful lot of guff talked about leadership. So I'm going to just encapsulate it in one simple sentence, if I may. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that. It's a bit like, but let me just, I think that leadership is really just telling people this is how we do things around here. That's it. You see, I think people want to be directed as to what's expected from them. And I go to a lot of companies where they've forgotten to do that. And what happens is over time, I can name several companies I'm working with at the moment, what happens is over time, the people working in the firm just come in, do their job and leave at the end of the day. And if they've done it well, that's a bonus. And if they've just done it well, that's seen as great. If they've done a lousy job, then the owner has to try and pick up the problem. Let me give you one example. I'm dealing with a company on the South Coast. They turn over just a couple of £1 million, potentially doing a hell of a lot more. They're a double glazing company. They actually make windows for commercial buildings such as this country. Very successful over the years. The two owners are a little bit at loggerheads with each other in terms of one is frustrated, the other one is trying to deal with all the problems, and that caused a bit of a clash, and that's something I'm dealing with on a separate basis. But everybody else working in the firm is kind of just doing their job. Does that make sense, everybody? They're just coming in and kind of doing their job. And I got them all together and said, look, here's a list of problems we're trying to deal with. This is how you can help. This is what we expect you to do now. And I kind of almost pulled them back into line in terms of just setting out the expectations for them. And I said, look, from now on, this is how we're going to do things around here. And it's interesting how within a couple of weeks things have changed dramatically. They take their own initiative to come in and actually sort of leaving the factory in a state where when they come in the following morning, they're straight onto the tools and getting whatever they need to get on with. And it just seemed to me that they'd lost their way in terms of telling people what they expected from them. So in my opinion, leadership, in my opinion, it's just saying to people, this is how we get things done around here, and this is what I expect from you. Now, I know there's an awful lot of companies out there that talk about empowering people, and that's very important, but the companies that talk about it, I find are the ones that can afford it. You know, with the best will in the world, employees, staff, it is a little bit like having children. You've kind of got to tell them what they need to do, when they need to do it, and how they need to do it, with a bit of scope in there to allow them to think for themselves and sort out any problems that they have. So I'm not talking about micromanagement, but I am talking about the fact that you kind of just got to direct them, hence the word director or managing director. You've got to direct people. And you know, it's very well for, I have a friend of mine who worked for IBM, and he decided 1 year to take a 1 year sabbatical, which is great, because they still paid him. And that's fantastic, because at the bottom line of IBM's numbers, the fact that a couple hundred people that year had a sabbatical didn't really dent the bottom line very much. So they can afford to kind of do that kind of stuff. The businesses I deal with can't. And so a lot of the time I'm going in and looking at what they're doing and hang on a second, that we need to put back things into line a little bit more, and maybe we need to start by explaining to people what we expect from them, and also get them involved with what we're trying to achieve as a business. Anybody got any questions?